so-called woke witch trials.
Yes, she's branded the diversity industry a new religion. So will the candidate she's backing for leader, Liz Truss, do something about it? Let's talk to her now. It's very good to see you this morning. Why are we getting too woke then, do you think? Why do we think that some of this training which we are forced to go through at times is a bad thing? Isn't it making us more tolerant?
I have nothing against tolerant and inclusive and meritocratic workplaces, don't get me wrong. But what I do have a problem with is the indoctrination of very fair-minded, professional and reasonable people with a left-wing and politicised ideology which engenders a particular view of race and gender. And what I found happening in my department is that thousands of hours were being spent on training government lawyers on really questionable issues. It was all premised on a misassumption, in my view, that ethnic minorities, myself as an Asian woman, must necessarily be a victim of white privilege, must necessarily be a victim of white fragility. I mean, these ideas are anathema to meritocracy, to British values, to creating a cohesive society. And I was really disappointed that a lot of time and resource is being spent on this within my department, within the civil service, but also within the corporate and private sector as well.
And why was it being spent on in your department when you've had a Conservative Parliament, Conservative government now for over a decade, and indeed both candidates who are standing have been in that cabinet? Why has it not been dealt with before?
I think there's been a takeover of the human resources sector by politicised lobby groups which have pushed and propagated a particular view of gender and race and equalities. And that's inculcated training. And under the guise of diversity, equality, inclusion, professionals are being taught this really questionable material. And I don't think that that is right. It's not necessarily been a decision made. These decisions have not been made by ministers. They've been made by senior civil servants and people who have responsibility for more operational deployment within the civil service. So I really urge executives in the private sector, I urge fellow ministers to look more closely at what taxpayers' money is being spent on and to remove it when they get a chance. That's what I've instructed in civil servants to do. I think effectively it's a waste of money, and actually that vital civil service resource should be used in a much more meaningful way. For example, actually delivering public services for the British people.
Why do you call it, as you did in your first response, a left-wing issue? This isn't actually sort of political in that sense, is it? This seems to span left and right.
No, I think it does come from the left, definitely, because some of these ideas like white privilege and is based on a critical race theory that's espoused generally by the left. It's a feature of a particular politicised view of race and gender. Intersectionality is another term as well, espoused generally by the left. So I think it's a particular political ideology. I think it's questionable. I don't agree with it. I know many people in Britain don't agree with it. I know many of my constituents in Fareham don't agree with it. It's not what British values are about. It's not a positive vision of our country. It's not meritocratic. It's actually patronising. It's disempowering and it's divisive.